guys. So it's day 27, and I just finished a lovely stay at a place called Lodge of Legends in Gatlinburg. It's a hidden gem for sure, although I doubt it will remain that way for long because Renee and her family are awesome, and I think the word's going to get out pretty soon and people are going to be staying there all the time. It's donation based, so essentially you stay there, they help you resupply, they give you a place to get cleaned up, do your laundry, sleep comfortably, and in exchange they just ask that you donate what you think is fair. And they're a lovely family, so I really enjoyed my time there. But I ended up staying just for 1 0 day, and today I'm doing a Nero. And if you don't know what that means, it essentially means that I'm doing a little bit of hiking, but I'm already about 1.5 miles in. I'm back out on the trail. There's lots of day hikers close by to Newfound Gap because it's a popular spot to come out and do some day hiking. But even just 1.5 miles in, the crowd sort of starts to thin out. So we're just about at the top of the mountain here where we're going to need to get to, and the shelter is just on the other side of that peak. So I've probably got 45 minutes of hiking or so left ahead of me. So yeah, it's good to be back out, and I think we're probably going to have about another 3 days or so here in the Smokies, and then we will be out and we'll be making it to Standing Bear, which will be another exciting landmark because the Smokies are tough. I know we got some rain in the forecast for the next few days, so it should get a little wet and messy, but I actually retreated my rain gear and I didn't do my umbrella, but I did my fly for my tent and then my rain jacket and rain bottoms. So we should be ready for the water when it starts pouring. And besides that, just good to be on the trail, feel refreshed, well fed. My pack is like absurdly heavy. I think I maybe went a little overboard with the food, but I don't think I'm gonna need to resupply for probably up to about a week. So, I got enough food to last me a good long time. So on the one hand, it's heavy. On the other hand, I should be set to go for a while. So yeah, I'll probably check in with you guys in a little bit once I've made it to the shelter and getting set up. But yeah, good to be back on the move. Hey guys, good morning. It's day 28, and yesterday we pulled a 3-mile day to get to Icewater Springs Shelter. So we're at mile 210, and it was raining this morning a pretty decent amount. Nothing crazy, but we got some wind and rain, and originally my plan was to wake up early and sort of beat the rain out of here. And my food bag is actually so full that I couldn't get it to properly roll down and be waterproof. So when I was laying in my tent at about 5 in the morning this morning and I heard it start to rain, I knew that my food is at risk of getting wet, or at least the inside of the bag was. So I got up and I ran over and I pulled my bag down and I brought it back here to the tent. And I got back in my tent and I thought, you know what? You can't really see anything out there because it's foggy. And I was tired. And my sleeping bag and pad still looked pretty cozy, so I just laid back down and pretty much stayed here for another 4 hours sleeping, which I think I needed because I hadn't slept so great the past couple nights. And now it's about 9:45, and I'm here eating some oatmeal with coconut oil, one of the morning favorites. I got some tea sitting over here, staying hot, waiting for me to enjoy, and I'm just gonna kind of take my time getting out of here. I probably will be out of here in the next 45 minutes or so. But yeah, I just decided to take it slow and leisurely, and we'll see what we get for miles today. We got a shelter about 7.5 miles up, and one that's 12.5, and 30 miles to the end of the Smokies. Tomorrow is supposed to be a good deal nastier with weather, and it looks like the terrain for today isn't going to be too bad. So I might push the 12, but we'll see how I'm feeling when I get to the first shelter. So anyway, I'm going to enjoy this breakfast and then get going, and we'll see where I end up. So I'll check in with you later. Check this out, guys. Not bad, eh? So we're on day 28 and we just passed the 1/10 mark for total mileage on the trail. And it's sort of taken me a disproportionate amount of time based on my estimated finishing window of a maximum of 6 months, meaning a maximum of about 180 days. And this is day 28, I'm only 1/10 of the way through, so if you do the math, it'd be 280 days, which would be close to a year. But the window would be closed long before then for me to make it to Katahdin. And I think, again, just to reiterate what I've said probably 100 times already, but when you're through hiking, it's what you're doing every single day. So I guess you think about these things. My legs are getting stronger. And what I'm finding is that these zeros that I've been taking and the few Neros that I've done, I think it adds up to a total of 8. So I've really done about 20 days of hiking and 8 days of resting. So every 3 days of hiking or so, I take a day off on average. And what I'm finding is that my muscles are starting to bolster, bounce back more quickly from soreness. I've been rolling out my muscles and pressing them out with a tennis ball and with my trekking poles, stretching like a madman, doing my best to stay hydrated and fed, integrating oils, coconut oil, olive oil, peanut butter into my diet, packing a lot of food in an effort not to lose any weight. And, in other words, I've been narrowing in on my style and what's necessary for me to do to make it to the end. And I think probably within the next couple weeks or so, my trail legs will be pretty well developed. It's pretty funny, I was taking a shower at my last zero and I was soaping down my legs, and I looked at my calf and I was like, holy crap. Because when you're out here, I've got my trekking pole, so my arms are doing some work and taking some load off my legs, but it's leg day like every single day. And somebody drew a good analogy, I think, for this, which is that essentially you're out here doing this every single day. It's like going to the gym to do legs every single day. And the fact of the matter is, if you were going to the gym doing legs every day, you wouldn't go in on the first week and gas yourself out, because if you did, you wouldn't be able to keep going. You'd have to stop going. And so, granted, I haven't been out here every single day doing this, but for the majority of the time. And it feels good to actually finally realize that the pain is starting to dissipate. I mean, there's always some form of pain, but the soreness that felt like it was never gonna go away 4 weeks later is finally starting to recede. And I think I'm being rewarded for, sort of listening to my body and taking the time off when I feel like I need to. So I mentioned this morning that I was gonna pick between going a little over 7 miles or a little over 12. And I opted to do the 12.5 mile day. And we've got one more sizable peak to make it over and a little over 2 miles left. And then we'll be there. Fortunately for me, the forecast sort of cleared out for this afternoon. There was a little bit of rain in the middle of the day. Had my umbrella out, but no more than 30 minutes later, I had it put away again. So blessings from the trail. When the weather gets better than it's forecasted to be, it's always a nice thing to have. As far as like mentally, I feel pretty good too. There are a lot of days when you're out here in this challenging terrain and you're just going like, man, like, is this ever gonna end? And I think once you get through the Smokies, it's still gonna be the Appalachian Trail, but sort of the whole first couple hundred miles, it's surprisingly difficult terrain. I mean, lots and lots of up and down. And I keep hearing, it's gonna get better up ahead, it's gonna get better up ahead. So I'm trying to look forward to that. And I have like cell service here and there. Sometimes when I'm lucky, I'll have service wherever it is that I'm camping. So I can, check in on home and social media and, still be tapping into the modern day world. But, the point is I do have outside contact, and so it's not like I'm, out here by myself, cut off from everything. When you get to go into town, it's always a good morale boost. Eat some really good food. So mentally, I'd say I'm doing well 4 weeks in. And you know, physically I'm starting to get there. So encouraging signs. Okay, well, my right arm is pretty tired from holding this phone up with this heavy pack on my back that I overloaded with food during my last resupply. So I'm gonna put it away. But beautiful day right now. Covering miles, feeling pretty good. Feeling happy, my belly's full. It's all good, man. Well, it's pretty warm and cozy in my tent here, and it's on nights like tonight that I'm thankful that I've been stubborn about just setting up and breaking down my tent every single day that I've been out hiking or camping. So there is a shelter probably about 70 to 80 yards behind me, so back that way. But you know, I just haven't stayed in a shelter yet, so for better or worse, out in the rain and the cold, I've stayed in my tent every single night. And there's a couple things that I've learned about my Fly Creek ULV Mountain Glow, my ULV 2, I should say, because it is a two-person tent, that have been valuable in making sure that it's set up properly. One of the things that I've started doing or being very mindful of is when I first stake out the bug net portion of the tent along with the ground tarp, I really stretch it out so that it's all the way taut on all four sides and there's no slack whatsoever. And that makes the setup of the fly more fluid. In other words, there's nowhere on my bug net right now where these two are touching. So when the rain fly and the bug net are touching, you can get moisture coming in from the other side of the fly onto the bug netting, and then that can drip down into your tent, which is no good if you're trying to stay warm and cozy. And then the other thing is just adjusting the length of my guy lines, or in my case, just jerry-rigging different knots at more ideal lengths, so that now when I set up my tent, all the guy lines are at the proper amount of tightness or tension, so that when the fly goes up, it's nice and tight. And then the last thing that I realized is the last part of the rain fly that I actually pull tight on is this guy here in the middle, where the hooks connect to the bug netting from the fly. And there's another one down there, I don't know if you can see it. And then it's the same thing on this side. So anyway, those are the last two that I pull, because it seems like once I've set all the corners and done the vestibule, which you can see is out here behind me, and my shoes are out there, and so are my trekking poles. Those should stay dry under the vestibule. But once I've done the vestibule and everything else, then the last thing I do is those two middle portions. So again, you know, these are kinds of the small things that you get used to. You know, I've met a couple other people with this same tent out on the trail, and they've expressed some frustration. And the one thing I will say is that because of the way the pole system is designed, it's a Y shape. So here at the top, at the front of the tent, you've got two forks going outwards, and then it's just one pole that goes all the way down to the end. So the one disadvantage to this tent is that if you set it up perpendicular to the wind direction, then that one single rod that goes all the way down to the foot end can kind of bend. So it's good to pay attention to what direction the wind seems like it's blowing in whenever you get to your campsite.
and then trying to set up so that your tent is parallel to the wind direction. So that if it's gonna blow through, it's just gonna go straight over the top instead of pushing from side to side and giving you trouble. So anyway, like I said, I'm nice and cozy in here, and you know, setting up my tent and breaking it down 21 times or so has been beneficial for really getting to know it and being comfortable in nasty weather like this. So yeah, gonna call it a night here on day 28, and day 29 should find us getting close to the end of the Smokies. And then on day 30, I should be out of the Smokies for good. Cool, check in with you guys tomorrow.